Hey everybody, I'm Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a light co-op game called Dream Catchers. In this game, the players play as dream catchers, trying to work together to help kids have good dreams and avoid nightmares. And so you're going to be cooperating, playing cards to gather those good dreams and eliminate nightmares from the board in order to advance up one specific track while keeping the others from advancing and managing your time well, because you definitely have a limited number of turns in this game before that time pressure forces you to lose the game. It's a fairly light game. It's very simple. It's the kind of thing that would be playable by older kids or kids and adults together. But before I go any further, let's go ahead and take a look at how the game goes, give you an overview. We'll come on back after that, and I'll tell you some more about it. To set up the game, the players are going to pick which bedroom they would like to play in. You have a few different options, and they are ranked by difficulty, and it's listed over here in the stars. So this one is the introductory one. It's the easiest one available to the players. Everyone's going to pick a character, again, also from a few possibilities here. And then you are going to set up the little monsters on those spaces, time track, and the sweet dreams over here, the nightmares below that, on the number corresponding to the number of players, in this case 2 players. And then you are going to draw and lay out these 9 cards from the dreams, shuffle up the monsters, leave them aside, everything else in place, you are good to go. And so the players are going to be taking turns over 2 phases. They are going to do the dream catcher phase and then the night phase. And during the dream catcher phase, let's say we're going to have this character here go first. They are going to have 4 cards in their hand with symbols. These symbols match the cards out here, which come in 2 different kinds, the sweet dreams and the nightmares. And on their turn, they're going to have 2 actions. So for your actions, you can do a few different things. You can trade a card with another player from your hand. You give them 1, they give you 1, cooperate that way. You can catch a sweet dream by discarding matching cards to do so. You can also catch a nightmare, same thing, discarding the cards that match it to do so. Or you can catch a monster. They'll come into play a little later in the game. So, let's say this player takes a look at their hand here, and they're going to see what they can do with this. I've got a shield, several shields. None of the sweet dreams out here take shields, so both of these are no good. Then I've got a sword and a heart. That combination is not out there. So what they'll do is they'll take a look at what's on the other in the other player's hand here, and they are going to trade with them. I am going to give them what takes a sword out here? A horsey and a sword. Fine, I'm going to give the other player a heart. I'm going to take their little horsey. That's 1 action. For my second action, I'm going to discard this combination printed right here on this tile to a discard pile. And then I am going to acquire that sweet dream. This one is acquired, we set it aside, and we move up on the matching track on the board. That was 2 actions. Now we go to the night phase. During the night phase, the first thing that happens, and before we do that, then the player should draw back up to 4 cards. So first thing that happens during the night phase is we advance the time. If it hits a space with one of these monster tokens, then we remove the token and we would add a monster into play. Show you that in 1 second. Then new dreams are going to appear, and then if a nightmare appeared, it is going to go through its phase of attacking the players. And so, to replenish this spot here, we draw a new tile. Since it is in fact a nightmare, we are going to have to contend with it. If it was just a sweet dream, nothing happens. And you refill the whole thing, sometimes a couple of tiles will be missing. So this one, all the nightmares, when they first show up, they check for adjacent nightmares that share a symbol with it. In this case, this one does not. However, once it's checked once, if it did not go off, it checks again after going through some movement. In this case, this one moves down. And this board wraps around, so moving down means that it pops up here. And again, we check this symbol against the adjacent symbols. In this case, we're still good, no matches, so that is done. And that player's turn has completed. It is now the next player's go. If the symbols do match, let's say this card had showed up here, then these 2 would be removed, matching symbols, and we move the nightmare track up as many cards as were removed. We continue drawing to fill up the board here so that everything is ready for the next player. And so now we have the next player's turn, in which they are going to take some action. So this player, for example, is going to take a look at the other player's hand, first of all, so that they can help each other out. And they are going to, let's see, we've got hard, horsey. Okay, this player's going to trade a card with the other player. They'll give them that. And they are going to take one of the little horsey here. That's the first action. They are going to take the action listed on their character, which is free, in this case, not an action. This character's power is they can discard 2 hearts to gain 1 time. So they're going to discard both of these to the discard pile and set the time back 1 spot. That's free. That's not an action. And then for their second action, they'll discard both of these and gain this sweet dream here, moving up on the track, discarding those cards. Again, the turn ends by drawing back up, moving the time, and finishing up, filling up the board. So this one shows up. It's not next to any matching nightmares. It moves, checks again, still not next to any matching nightmares, and it's the next player's turn. So a couple of things that could happen as you are playing. If this ever moves on to a monster, you are going to draw one of these monsters. It's going to show you 3 symbols across the bottom. It's going to show you what it likes up here and the strength, the difficulty of that monster. When it first shows up, you simply set it aside. It's supposed to be under the bed. And every sweet dream with this symbol is removed from the board. Then, throughout the game, the players may spend an action to fight a monster. You have to play these 3 cards and you roll the die. You need to roll at least as much as the strength. In this case, it's 5. So on this 6-sided die, you need a 5 or a 6. And if you do so, you eliminate the monster. That's all you do, you just eliminate it. If you do not, you keep the cards, but you could even try again if you have your second action left. If there are ever 3 monster cards under the bed, once you've flipped over the third and you have, 3 have accumulated, then you've lost the game as well. That's one way to lose. Having too many nightmares or running out of time would be the other ways to lose. So that's how monsters work in the game. Thankfully, our little friend here has a passive ability that says they can attack a monster with only 2 of the 3 symbols that show up on that card. Very strong character there. Besides that, there's a deck of cards over here which are gifts. And if you ever acquire a dream that shows a gift in its corner, and you'll see them throughout the deck here, such as this one here, shows a dream, a gift here in the bottom corner. Once you acquire that dream, you'll move up on the track as always, and then you draw a card from this deck, reveal it, and it'll do something. Whatever it says immediately 1 time. In this case, back off the nightmare track. Sometimes it'll eliminate a nightmare out here from the board, or it will give you +1 sweet dream there. It will give you +1 time. It'll even sometimes give you a token, which allows you to weaken a monster by putting a token on it, so the die roll is not as costly. You can roll something lower and still get the nightmare eliminated, the monster eliminated. So that's basically it. You continue taking turns, cooperating with one another until you are able to move this tracker all the way up, in which case you win. If you cannot, and one of the other 3 bad things happen, then you lose. And you should also take into account while you are playing that all the boards have a little special power right here. In this case, this one says every time you eliminate a monster, back off the nightmare track by 1. So there you go. That should give you an idea of how the whole thing goes. Very cute, very simple. Let's go back up top and let me tell you what I think of it. All right, so that is Dreamcatchers. Let's talk about this. I'm going to start with thematic ties. Does the game feel original? The theme, is it well implemented? I think it's a cute theme. I think it's well done. I think it is part of everything that they put in there. The idea of time passage being that, the night is drawing on, and so if the morning comes and you still have not won, then you've lost the game. I don't think it's mechanically tied to what it is you are doing, but then again, how would you even do that? You're supposed to be these fantastical beings. So it definitely gets points for having an original theme that is well implemented into all the different aspects of it. If not, mechanically, then everything else. The aesthetics, component quality, congruent artwork, things like that, fantastic. It is a gorgeous looking game. The components are spectacularly made. Everything is clear. The symbols on everything are very nice. I love it. The look of it is great. The build quality is fantastic as well. Replayability, does it scale well? Are there new things to discover? I think it does scale well. I'm glad that they put the number of players right on the 2 tracks so that they balanced it out that way. And I do find that the different boards, the different bedrooms, have a nice amount of challenge to them. I mean, even the first one is not necessarily easy, partly because of luck, and I'll talk about that later, but it's not really, it's not a breeze. I wouldn't say you can just win anyway. But there is a nice amount of replayability. From the characters mainly, and from the different bedrooms you can play. Everything else, you sort of see it all, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It's one you can keep coming back to. Game length, does it stay interesting the whole time? Is it repetitive? I don't think the game lasts long enough to become repetitive, and that time pressure, that tracking on, is a nice amount of pressure that leads to. So, no, I don't think the game outstays its welcome, and I don't think it has time to become repetitive, even though you are doing the same things, because it is a short game, The ease of play. Is it fiddly? Are there any extraneous rules? Is it easy to teach and understand? I would say so, while staying mechanically interesting. The idea of the nightmares showing up, checking if they go off, then moving somewhere and checking again, that's a nice mechanism, It's, again, very lucky, but it is a nice mechanism. And as far as understanding making sets of cards that match the symbols out there and discarding them, that's easy. Getting the main thing that's probably a little challenging is remembering that the bedroom has a special power, and remembering that your character has a special power that you probably want to use if you want to try to win. So other than that, it's an easy game to get into. Lastly, tactics, strategy, luck, things like that. There are what I call observation strategies in this game, or maybe they're tactics, whatever. But it's the idea of, if you want to do well, all you need to do is take a little bit longer to realize that, to check all the symbol combinations on the board, in your hand, and other players' hands, and then make the smartest move you can from there. Like, if I gave this player over here the crystal ball and I took from them a heart, I can then do my special action and another action, and the one I gave them helps them on their turn, etc., assuming nothing else changed. And there's a bunch of luck on top of that too, Again, I'm not really going to, beat the game up for that. It's a light co-op game for older kids, as I said, or maybe, kids and families together. But yeah, there's some luck, and it definitely, it's never more apparent than when you get a chain of nightmares that trigger off each other, because you can have that track shoot up. Way more than half the symbols, if not all the way to the end, in a single particularly unlucky turn. So that stings a little bit. I wish they maybe had put a cap on how many of those can trigger in a round, something like that. That's my only and biggest negative when it comes to that, is that mechanism that checks for nightmare symbols being next to each other could chain into a massive problem. Other than that, and overall, I think the game is very charming. It's cute. It's easy to teach. This is the kind of thing that I think would go over really well with a lot of families who have kids getting into gaming, for example, while still not being, pandering, while still being a challenging game and having interesting things happening and forcing the players to work together. This is a game that expects you to do that, expects you to trade smartly and understand where you should be helping and how, and expects you to understand how to use your character's power to overcome the challenge presented. I like it a lot. So, Dreamcatcher is going to get a seal of approval from me. Check it out, everybody, if it's something that you think would appeal to you. I'm happy I played it. I think it has an audience out there, and I hope it finds it. So, there you go. Dreamcatchers, thanks for checking this out with me, and I'm going to see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.